Well, that didn't take long, did it? Season 3 of The Orville is well underway at its new home, Hulu, and given the change of address, it couldn't be better for it. Already, Seth MacFarlane has given us 4 great episodes, and we're just getting started. Even with the history of the series being topical, it seems that many don't appreciate the fact that Seth MacFarlane has decided to address trans issues with the 5th episode of the latest season, A Tale of Two Topas. As such, many have accused MacFarlane of going woke and ruining the series. On its face, the accusations of MacFarlane going woke with The Orville seem absurd. The series is so deeply rooted in the vein of Star Trek The Next Generation, in which writers use allegorical storytelling to address certain issues of the day, yet it does it in a manner that is not preachy or overbearing. Both sides of the issue are presented intelligently, and nobody is accused of being on the wrong side. Ultimately, a conclusion is reached, and although it may not be the typical happy ending, it is a conclusion nonetheless. This has always been the case, even in such Star Trek episodes as A Private Little War, Outcast, the Voyager episode Critical Care, and This Shall Be Your Last Battlefield. By contrast, a series such as Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard will merely point to an issue and tell you it's bad. Corporate greed is bad, homelessness is bad, clinical depression is bad, racism is bad, persecuting immigrants is bad, wealth inequality is bad. What do we do about it? Damned if I know. It's bad and you should feel bad about it. No discussion, no larger point. They just attempt to guilt-trip the audience into feeling a certain way, where The Orville provides a thought-provoking story using a science fiction backdrop to address some real-world problems. New Trek just points the finger and attempts to assign blame. Yet even with Star Trek's history of addressing modern problems through a science fiction lens, many are still decrying this particular episode of The Orville as selling out to the woke mob. And some are even accusing MacFarlane of, quote-unquote, grooming, a term that's been propagating the internet lately. An accusation that is absurd to say the least, as both sides of this particular issue are well represented, and ultimately the decision lies with Topa, who has aged into young adulthood. Furthermore, the consequences of Captain Ed Mercer's actions are shown, in that it jeopardizes relations with the Mocklans. Ed's career, along with Kelly's, could have easily been over, whereas if Michael Burnham was placed in a similar situation, they would have hand-waved it away and proclaimed, "Well, golly gee, Mikey, I guess you were right all along because you're the bestest ever." The other accusation of this being some sort of new thing also neglects to consider that this is the conclusion of the Topa About a Girl storyline from Season 1. In the final scene from that episode in Season 1, after a long legal battle with the Moclan High Council, Bortus, who ultimately loses his case, proclaims that Topa will decide who he or she wants to be, and places the Rudolph toy in the crib with him. The Season 2 episode Sanctuary furthers this storyline, in which we learn that female births in the Moclan society are more common than we first led to believe. However, it is a fact that is covered up, as it would be deemed threatening to the all-male society that has been built. With the appearance of Havina, a Moclan novelist and writer who is in hiding in the mountains, we learn that there are others who are born female and have not only learned to accept themselves for who they are, but learned that they have value despite what Moclan culture has taught many. So with the history of the Orville dealing with this story over the last 5 years, why is it now suddenly considered to be a deviation from the norm that Seth MacFarlane and company finally bring this part of the story to a close? This is just personal opinion. However, given that the content of The Orville has remained largely unchanged and has only gotten sharper in regards to addressing these types of issues through the use of storytelling, it is not Seth MacFarlane nor The Orville that has changed. It is the audience who has. With the feeling that's run rampant through the fandom that their properties are under attack from the woke mob, there are some, not going to name names, who felt that they can exploit that to their benefit in order to not only profit from it, but to elevate their status within certain corners of the internet and the fandom writ large. The idea that's been propagated is that entertainment has been overrun by politics, and that the woke mob is trying to reshape society using it. The frequent refrain of "get your politics out of my entertainment" has been replaced by "get politics out of my entertainment, but not my politics." Add now that some feel they are trying to protect the children from the more seedy aspects of people in the entertainment industry, it has sparked a backlash. Easy targets are now identified. Many would have you believe that this is all very recent and that groomers are attempting to corrupt your children. Yet the question to be postulated is this all actually new? Has entertainment only recently been overrun by trans issues? The answer is no, it's not. Trans issues have been dealt with many times previously throughout television history. The character Chandler Bing from the sitcom Friends had a father who was trans. Family Guy's Quagmire's father was also trans and even had a brief relationship with Brian. Going way back to the 80s, The MASH spin-off Trapper John MD dealt with the parents of a child who, even though he was born a boy, was actually a girl. The parents were torn with what each other wanted. The mother wanting to raise the child in the healthiest way possible, and the father, who had been raising his son for the last 2 years, adjusting to the idea of his son becoming a daughter. A somewhat different but similar circumstance, albeit. However, history has been littered with such examples ranging from 2.5 Men to the Jeffersons. Many were played for laughs, but it seems now that no one is laughing. With history of such characters already throughout television, it shouldn't be shocking to see this story played out in the Orville. Yet in the current climate, it seems that there is no shortage of outrage. For the time being, it seems that the storm will have to be weathered, as there's little choice until the winds shift. But until then, we can acknowledge that there's nothing new under the sun. And if you're so worried about what kind of influence Seth MacFarlane has on your children, then maybe don't let him raise your kids for you. See you next time.